We used to sit there while we were typing with our other hand covered in liquid latex while it was drying so we could get the fingerprints and make it look really grody for Dante's Inferno. Just making like pieces of flesh. And my parents were like, what is your job again?
Hello and welcome to Did I Do That? It's a podcast about graphic designers making mistakes, because when it comes to making just about anything, it's all part of the process. I'm Sean Schumacher, and joining me today, a very special guest, a senior design director whose work ranges from painting and digital to 3D space design, sculpture, and styling, to even the occasional bit of movie magic. After stints in public broadcasting and outdoor apparel, she hopped into her sometimes forever home of Wieden+Kennedy, working on accounts like KFC, Leica, Velveeta, Quibi, and more. These days, she's returned to Wieden, where she serves as group design director. It's Katie McHugh. Hi!
Hello.
Katie, so nice to have you here.
Thank you.
This is apropos of nothing, but you have almost the exact name of my childhood best friend, which...
Really?
Yes. I was trying to figure, because I definitely seen you in my usual LinkedIn search results many times, and I think I don't know why I had just not made the connection, but I think I'd seen that name and been like, oh, I must be friends with my childhood best friend on LinkedIn. Who knows? Maybe this is some sort of like time mix-up.
Yeah.
As we record, we're actually the day before Groundhog's Day.
Okay, perfect. This is perfect.
So yeah, maybe this is a very long Groundhog's Day arc of just reliving our childhoods.
Yeah.
I don't know. You grew up in Las Vegas, definitely.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah,
totally.
Absolutely.
Now, speaking of
Seattle and Las Vegas are the same thing, right?
They're so similar.
Perfect.
Similar weather, similar culture,
Yep.
Similar just vibe, I think. But speaking of other lives, like in another life, you worked at OPB, which is a noted affiliate of both PBS and NPR.
Yep.
PBS has been in the news quite a bit recently in pretty much the only way that Americans care about public anything, because they didn't know or take advantage of the good it did, and now they think it's going away.
Right.
But reports of its death have been greatly exaggerated. And I bring up PBS at the start, but I think I really want to focus more on MTV as part of this very strange phenomenon, because I feel like what's happening with MTV is even more bizarre. Right at the start of the year, I don't know if you heard about this, MTV shut off a bunch of secondary channels in the US and the UK and Australia that all collectively probably got less viewers globally than this show gets. And like if this show ended, I'm not sure that they would be missed by anyone.
Right.
But like that is not the time we're in, of course. The social media misinformation Ouroboros has so thoroughly eaten its own tail that news got the treatment that any celebrity mention did on Facebook 10 years ago. Immediate, impassioned, and certain despite all absence of facts, lamentations of their death just everywhere. You know, it's not without reason. I don't. Have you watched MTV recently in the past couple of years?
I don't think I have.
It's not great.
Yeah, I think that it would have changed my perspective on it, because I grew up with it, you know. And
Yeah.
Max Headroom and all of the things that like were flashy and crazy and the logo changing and all that kind of stuff, you know. And I
pushing
wasn't,
boundaries.
Yes, and I wasn't allowed to.
Oh.
So I think that even made it more provocative to me, because it was like I had to go look at it at friends' houses and stuff, because we weren't allowed those channels, you know, at home.
True. Like that is truly a special thing to be like,
Yeah.
I'm getting away with something.
Exactly,
right now.
exactly. So there was something really like, you know, like unreachable about it that made it like really, really special in that time frame.
Oh,
you know?
yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't think any children today are maybe having the same feelings about MTV, which these days shows about 23 out of every 24 hours a show called Ridiculousness. And that's not an exaggeration. There have been many days that is exactly the case.
Yeah.
It's sort of America's Funniest Home Videos for just, you know, sort of random internet videos. Probably the most low budget thing that is possible. Yeah. And even then they decided to cancel that last year after 46 seasons.
Yeah. 46 seasons.
Yeah. I think they were doing about 6 or 7 a year. I was trying to do the math on that.
Wow.
I don't know exactly how that worked, but it leaves a pretty big gap in the old schedule, I would say. Yeah. So yeah, that is actually where the real MTV is. But MTV was said all over social media to have been ready to shut off on December 31st of this past year, to the point that Collider, a real publication kind of still, published a full-on obituary of it that in turn got siphoned up by MTV and is now one of the top search results to this day. That article is up. No corrections to it. Great. That's so good. And what is even odder is like all of these articles, all of these social media posts talk about December 31st as this shutdown deadline. But I found a real article about the phenomenon in Esquire of people just repeating this misinformation that actually managed to turn up that there are posts mourning MTV that got posted 4 days after it supposedly got shut down. I assume there's still more even after that. That's just when the article went out.
Yeah.
So it's a very odd, like, just echo chamber that's happening with these sorts of things. And I mentioned PBS earlier, like, they went through the same thing. I can understand where some of that confusion came from when the Corporation for Public Broadcasting shut down.
Mm-hmm.
They're not really PBS and NPR. They're just a thing that helped channel money from, you know, the public to those stations. But, you know, PBS is still going. They're still up and running.
I mean, do you think that helped them, though? You know, like,
well,
with all those pledge-a-thons and all the things, it's like, was it just this, like, cry out and everybody all of a sudden was like, I remember you. And like, let's give money to this because we can't let that happen, you know, kind of a thing.
I think that is exactly what did end up happening. And I will say, you know, PBS's social media person has been on Threads hamming it up over this and probably getting a lot of additional pledges.
Yeah.
Making it pretty much the only thing that I want to see on Threads. Threads is sort of just context collapse as a service.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really understand what it's for, but they're doing great over there. I will say the thing that feels so insidious about this kind of thing to me is like the evidence of what has actually happened is right there in front of us. It's there for anyone who reported on it. It's there for the actual news that reported on the social media posts. It's there for the people who made the social media posts. You can go to MTV.com.
Yeah.
It's still up. You don't even need a cable subscription to see if PBS and NPR are still kicking. They're just there. But it's just so strange that we've become so attached to the awful, like, foie gras-ified force feeding from our social media overlords that we are ignoring actual evidence and facts right in front of us that are easily proven. And I think it's all the more dangerous when it's like news organizations are, you know, just repeating what's being said. So it's a very strange time.
It is. I think that it's like, you know, we talk a lot about this short form and long form reading thing that's going downhill and the amount of content they're taking in, but it's all in short form, right?
Exactly.
And then our inability to kind of click a couple levels lower to figure out if that thing is real or not. And I think that's a problem, you know? I think that there's a problem with it goes so far beyond that with algorithms and things that we're all being regurgitated the same things. I see it a lot in our design stuff. I see it, ton more in advertising.
I'm sure.
It's pretty crazy. It's like everybody's showing the same things. Everybody's like, I got this brilliant idea. And then the person next to them comes in with the same brilliant idea. And it's like, you know, and then everybody goes, it must be right because we arrived at the same place, you know? And you're like, well,
wow.
I saw that this morning too, you know? I don't know. It's definitely like, it's tough, you know? And I don't want to go as far as saying, oh, people are stupid and that they're not, you know, going these far things. It's just that, you know, going deeper into those levels. It's just that, I don't know, maybe we don't have the time and it's the amount we're trying to collect to be relevant in a conversation and you can't have that amount of long form. I'm not really sure what's happening with all that.
It's so hard to say because I mean, I know I have been challenged even in the past like year of like, well, even the things I used to be able to post onto social media that were a little bit more long form and a little bit more slow, they don't get traction anymore.
Yes.
So it's like, it's this problem of, I don't even think it is the content itself. It's the people who are choosing what those algorithms pick up have gotten more selective about, we want it to be shorter and punchier and
clickbaity.
Exactly. Like BuzzFeed is ultimately the victor, even though they're kind of dying as well.
And we all hate them. We hate it at the same time, but we do
nightmare.
it. We give to it, but we hate it. It's like this round circle of Yeah.
So I guess in summary, please give to your PBS and NPR stations because in some ways they're the only real solution to this.
And maybe still call into the pledge-a-thons. That's still fun, to call in with those fake ringing telephones. There's something nostalgic about it.
It's so wonderfully nostalgic. Oh my God. I would love to know what happened to those big daises that had like multiple rows of phones attached to them.
Yeah.
Where did they all go?
When I left, I think there was still some of them there. So I don't know what they're doing now. I'm not sure they were really doing it, though. It was sort of just like faked.
Oh, sure, sure.
Still, but it was just them still. I don't know.
And just some extras occasionally sitting very quietly and then picking up
yes,
a phone. And
exactly. And it's like Charlie Brown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they should not have hired Charlie Brown's teacher to answer those phones. It's a
I know.
very hard conversation. I'm trying to donate money. You have to speak in words. Do you need my credit card information or not? But you didn't come here to necessarily talk about Charlie Brown's teacher answering phones, right? Probably.
Hey, whatever. I'm here to talk about whatever you want.
Really, you came here to talk about your journey into design. And you had a very interesting journey. You grew up in Seattle. Am I right about that?
I did, yep. I grew up in right in smack grunge period of time.
Hey.
Where I got to learn, most of my stuff came from music.
It is so funny to think about that era of Seattle as being like these two very opposite poles of the actual grunge movement. And then I feel like the thing that I know more about, which is Frasier, which represents nothing of real Seattle, really.
I think I was too young for Frasier, though, at that point, because I'm old now.
Hold on. What about Frasier doesn't appeal to the youth? I can't imagine.
Exactly.
He's the president of his wine club.
Yeah, exactly.
What an accessible thing for children.
It was like the antithesis of what we were trying to rebel against.
But that's like a very vibrant cultural scene to be born into.
It was awesome. It was awesome.
Were you doing a lot of creative stuff growing up, like engaging in the music scene in particular, or?
Yeah. I mean, I think that was the only thing that I was like, we could kind of get away with to go, get on a bus, go somewhere, go to a flea market-y type place to get really cool clothing before that was cool.
Oh, sure. And before it cost $45.
Yeah, because you could, really honestly. And then to go to something musical-wise, somewhere where you could kind of get in being younger. If it was a record shop doing something weird, or like Sit and Spin, which was a coffee shop, but it also had music to it. I mean, 107.7 was the end. And that was like kind of what now is a college radio station. Like, it wasn't big back then.
But what a name.
Yeah, and it had every grunge, Rage Against the Machine, Anti the Man, like a song that was being played. And they were kind of, to me, and I'm probably wrong about this, but in my youthful view in the Pacific Northwest, they were the first that started these, like, later would become these huge things that, sorry for whoever comes at me for the Coachellas, but like Coachella ruined and all that.
100%. Yeah.
And you would go to like Vashon Island. You would take the ferry, you would drive around. No one knew what Vashon Island was.
Yeah.
And, and you would pay $5 and they would take anything from you they thought that you could throw at the band.
Wow.
Like your hacky sack, because hacky sacks were really big at the time.
That's a rough and tumble crowd, to be sure.
Like, I saw so many bands for $5, like, crazy Nirvanas and Mudhoneys and like really crazy bands. I saw they made the mistake of having a lemonade stand at one of these things, and they were selling fresh lemonade. So they put half lemons in the lemonade. And so everyone used these lemonades to boo Korn off the stage by throwing lemons at Korn. So and
thank God they didn't have actual corn, because that would have really left a mark.
I mean, and Pearl Jam, all these bands that I just saw, and that was also their posters.
Sure.
And I don't know if anybody was calling them zines back then. They were just making these like photocopied things and passing them out.
Yeah,
and, like, on the telephone posts and all that kind of stuff back in Seattle. And that was like really cool to me.
100%, a totally DIY scene.
Yes.
Everything is just totally like groundswell of energy.
Didn't have computers.
No.
Like, grew up with typing classes, but like not on the computer.
Oh yeah. Well, just before we started recording, we were talking about Kinko's. And,
yes.
I mean,
college. I owned my Kinko's owned my soul for a while. I probably paid hundreds of dollars that I didn't have to Kinko's for portfolios.
Yeah, I mean, our students unfortunately are still paying hundreds of dollars to Kinko's. It's just you're getting a lot less for that money now.
Yeah.
But at least you get to use their awful software that's attached to their copiers.
Yeah.
The worst software imaginable. But like, that's a very like exciting thing to go into. And I know eventually you end up going to Seattle University.
Yes. Well, I actually, I was in an honors program. I guess, the AP type classes. I was just interested in humanities, I guess.
Yes.
And because of that, they let me take these like pre-college courses. And I took this humanities class that will kind of forever stay with me. It was called back then, and this is a long time ago. This is in the 90s. It was called You Pays Your Money, You Makes Your Choice. That was what the class was called.
Damn. I like to think that I've established a great cottage industry for myself at this school of making courses with the strangest titles.
Yeah.
Imaginable. I run a course called Rodeo. I have another course called Show and Tell.
That's great.
Damn it. They've upped their game.
You pays your money, you makes your choice.
I can't
And it was
beat that.
run by this crazy hippie professor that was like a vegan, and no one even knew what that was. Like we were like, what's a vegan? And but he was wearing a leather belt, and we couldn't figure out that. And he would tell us
I think
that,
he doesn't know either.
I know. Well, he would tell us that it was gifted to him, so that didn't count, basically. But
sure.
But it was a great course about like your dollar matters. You know?
Okay, yeah.
And it was like, you may not think it as an individual, but it got us into a different frame of thinking when I was like 17 years old of like, you don't think in the world you can do much as one person, but you really can, and your dollar makes a difference. And I've carried that on like throughout my life,
That's a good lesson, actually.
Yeah, it was actually a really good course. So I kind of got pre-Seattle University courses, which was a cool thing before I kind of entered into my college stuff.
Hey.
I mean, but I had this funny journey, but it all comes back to art and what I'm doing. You know what I mean? It's like, I was not one of those kids that knew what I wanted to do.
No.
At all. And some people do. I just didn't.
It's so rare, though. It's so rare.
I hope that young people know that.
Yeah.
Because, I think there's a lot of people that freak out or have that pressure.
Yeah.
And it's like, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I decided to go to college for anthropology. And
wow.
And it was just that sociology, the study of people.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Just like the humanities stuff that interests me. I then ended up being really interested in forensic anthropology. And this was like way before there was even episode 1 of CSI. And, my parents thought I was really weird.
Yeah.
And, and I chose this University of Montana, my undergrad, to go to school there because the anthropology professor there was like a cult and religious studies leader.
What?
And he's like one of the best in the nation. And he was actually in like Heaven's Gate or something like that before.
Oh my God.
And he left before anything happened. But like his ability to talk about this, Professor Balch, and I've seen him in documentaries now, and it's really crazy to see him as my professor in these documentaries.
Sure.
But he was so intriguing because he had lived what he was preaching. He wasn't just like, I'm a teacher and I've read these other books of other people. He had like, been in these weird cults and joined them and studied them and not let them know he was studying them and then left.
Well, yeah, and that's as A-list a cult as you can get.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
We are doing a project, me and a student right now, where we are having them build a very 90s style website. And I did, the Heaven's Gate website is still up, and I did almost include it in my mood board.
Yeah.
Because it's representative of so many things in web design of that era.
Yeah.
But it's also such a weird, crazy thing.
Yes. Yes.
But like to go to Montana, to leave this big, exciting scene in Seattle and to go to, a much quieter
I just wanted to try that. I mean, I got into a lot of other different colleges. I think my dad still gives me crap today that I didn't go to like a Boston college or something larger either. But I liked the outdoors a lot, and I just wanted this experience and not. I've just never liked being told what to do.
Hey, yeah. So you're carrying the scene with you. I understand.
Yeah. So I tried to go to Boulder. Actually, that was my first choice, Colorado and Boulder. And I ended up getting a waiting list or something there because they prefer Coloradans.
Yeah.
And my best friend that I grew up with had gone to Montana, and she was like, Carroll College, you blink, you miss it. Montana State's a little hicky for me, cowboy. And she was like, University of Montana is kind of cool. You should come visit with me. And we went, and I just really liked it. And I liked that professor. And I was like, yeah, let's do this. And I like snow.
I mean, you're going to get a lot of it out there.
Yes, it was great. It was great. And I went through all of these different majors. It was like, I liked anthropology. I took sociology classes. I took psychology classes. And I still just didn't know. And then I got into art and theater stuff. And I started set building.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a huge pivot from where you start. Like,
But it's all study of people.
I guess so. Ultimately, yeah.
You know, like it's actually not that different.
Yeah.
It's like you're studying human beings and behavioral patterns and like, you know.
Yeah, I guess.
Like,
Yeah.
even graphic designers do that.
Well, yeah.
Product designers.
I mean, advertising is all about that, really.
100%. It's just really that's the psychology behind it, I think, really fascinated me. And I took this mythology class that I thought was really cool. I just did classes I thought was cool.
Hey,
And
sounds pretty good to me.
Talking about mistakes that we'll get into, we can segue.
Please.
You know, I didn't do it the traditional way, so I actually ended up 5 years at the university, you know. But I got like 3 minors, I think, like accidentally, you know, just because I kept taking classes that I thought were interesting. You know, but I ended up through a mythology class studying in Rome for 6 months because it was the same professor. And that was a lot of like sketching. And I think that I found into the art world and, you know, all of the painting there and the history behind that. And
Of course. Yeah, what a perfect gateway into like you are creating spaces that have an emotional attachment to them to kind of
Yeah.
shape how people perceive a setting. That makes perfect sense.
yeah.
Like,
And then just entirely different culture.
Yeah.
Along with, there's so many layers to it, you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
of like human studies, basically, you know. And I think as I started getting toward my 5th senior year, I became a doctor.
You've
Just
run out of
kidding.
room on the minors
Yeah,
form
exactly,
to
exactly.
declare.
You know, I was like, I can't live in Montana. I would have stayed in Montana. It's totally beautiful, has my heart. But there was just, you know, minimum wage is $5.25. It just wasn't the place for me. And so instead, I was like, I could do whatever I want. And so I just looked at cities in the United States that I thought would be cool. And I started applying for jobs in cities.
Wow.
And I actually got a call back. I'd never been to Portland, even though I grew up in Seattle. Portland at the time, now I think it's reversed now. I was going to say this. But Portland at the time was like the less cool sister city of like,
sure.
you know, the scene that was happening in Seattle. And I got a call back from the Oregon Children's Theater. And I'd been doing a lot of work with kids.
Yeah.
And I got my undergraduate degree with teaching and theater and art. And I moved over here to do like some, you know, assisting with Shakespeare classes and a bunch of different things that they did and acting classes and stuff. I moved sight unseen
Wow.
to Portland. And it was a crazy move, but it was great, you know?
Like, did you even have to fly out to do an interview, or was this all like done over the phone?
I think I did it over the phone. No, because
Wow.
the first time I came here was in a U-Haul truck, you know?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Yeah. But I was also immediately like, oh, this place is cool. But I actually
Yeah.
didn't know anything about the city. So I ended up moving up on like Skyline area.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it took me a while to learn that like the East Side was like, you know, the more gritty, cooler place to be.
Yeah, I mean, you're certainly getting some more modern Montana energy up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like you're here. You got here.
I did, yeah.
You're teaching set
I
building.
yep,
and
I started teaching.
theater and
Yep. And then let's see, I got a job at Valley Catholic High School
oh wow,
out in Beaverton. They hired me, you know, assistant professor, and then the main professor just like quit, and so then I was just like this really young person that was just thrown into like the main role, and the kids were still calling me Katie because I'd been the assistant teacher, and the principal. I got in trouble all the time. I went to the principal's office more times at this Catholic school
oh no,
than not because of like whatever I was teaching and the curriculum and the Catholic school and all of the things, you know. But I just kind of plugged on, you know. And then eventually they need you here. Your teaching license is like a little bit, you need extra credit. It's here in
it's a complicated
Oregon than
yeah.
Montana.
Yeah.
So I would have to go back to school, being on an emergency teaching license. I had to go back to school regardless. And then I was like, well, I might as well just go, you know, my master's or post-baccalaureate or something like that.
Sure.
And so I thought about it for a really long time, and I love teaching. But I was like, is this what I want to do forever? Can I do this on the side? And I was still really interested in that like adult feedback, that back and forth, that, you know, stimuli you get from like colleagues.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
I just didn't have that in the school.
No, you're hard to have a deep conversation with a second grader. You
Yeah.
know?
Well, this was high school. I was teaching.
Even
Sometimes
harder
harder
to have a deep
to have it.
conversation.
Yes, totally. You know, so and honestly, I think sometimes it was the parents that were harder than the kids, you know, But I went back to school for design.
Yeah.
And I thought, I mean, this is like this crazy journey because this is not mistake, because I wanted to ask you the difference between mistake and failure.
Well,
right?
I mean, it was here that you did that, right? And
yes.
I think I know the era that would have been.
Yeah. It was
some
good.
challenging personalities were here, to be sure.
I think this was really good, the educational part of it. I just didn't know. I've made so many, not mistakes, but these leaps of faith where I was like, immediately was able to be like, oh, that wasn't for me.
Yeah.
Or that wasn't for me. And I'm glad I knew that and I could move on, from that.
Much better to know it quickly.
Yes.
100%.
Yes. And so, I was like, okay, I want to do product design. But there was no program at the time in all of Oregon, which is crazy because we had Nike and Intel. And and I thought I wanted to invent things, And I was like, well, I guess I'll be a graphic designer,
Close enough.
Yeah, I was like, that's close enough, whatever. So I came back and I was doing that. And I was like, well, after I was done here, I was like, maybe I'll do apparel design. Is that interesting? Sure.
Definitely work for it.
And I went over to Columbia Sportswear.
Yeah.
And I started working for Columbia Sportswear. And immediately, I was doing snaps and trims, which is like day in and day out. Because,
not an exciting bit of business, to be sure.
I think you have this, coming into the business, you have this grandiose idea that just like in school, you'll be doing a project from start to finish, only you.
Yeah.
A
complete fiction.
Yeah. And
we students since time immemorial have been fed this.
Yes. Even when you get teams that you have to work on in college, it's not quite the same thing.
Yeah.
And so I got into this thinking, I'm going to make a full apparel thing, and that's just not what happens, Well,
but it's like, with that, I feel like the problem with so many student team things is your only motivation is grades, and people have such different relationships with that as a motivator.
Yeah.
There's not stakes, really. So, you get uneven results just because some people are just like, I don't care. I just need a C. That's fine.
That's super. Yeah, that's very interesting. And I don't know. I just kind of was like, oh, this isn't for me. I don't like this fashion design. So I stopped that.
Yeah.
And I got the job at OPB. And, looking at it, it's not flashy. It doesn't seem from the outside like flashy. But I came in at this perfect timing when they were doing the rebranding of the entire thing. From what anyone that's from Oregon knows, the old purple logo that they had.
Yeah, with the little kind of swirl off to the side.
Exactly.
Very much of an era of logos.
Of
ESPN had
swirl
that.
Logos. Yeah.
What was that movement? Why did so many stations have it? I don't know.
I don't know. I could argue we're coming back to that in a weird way. Like there's all these AIs, all these circles. It's like it's trying to make you feel, okay.
Yeah, I guess the oval as a container shape has really been making a big comeback.
It has.
That is kind of the genesis of the swirl, isn't it?
Yes. It's like, you are safe. And you're like, oh gosh. And then we did the colors and the 3 that OPB is now.
A very memorable logo.
Yeah, and I worked on that entire thing, and it was really exciting.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I like branding. I like this. I think all of us that become kind of graphic designers, it's like, yeah, we have this heart of a fine artist, maybe some of us, but we also have a little bit of OCD and maybe a little bit of ADD. I don't know,
Oh, definitely a mix.
We like our grids and our lines too, and stuff like that. And that's kind of how you've had Peter Yu on here before.
Absolutely, I have.
I love Peter Yu.
Wonderful episode. Go back and listen if you haven't heard it yet.
Yeah, I listened to it. He's an amazing human being, very generous with all he does. And I think we were talking about one time, what you do that's OCD. Each one of us that were designers were standing there.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, my closet's color coordinated, And I'm pretty sure Peter could come and yell at me for this, but I'm pretty sure that he said he always wears 3 shirts.
I believe it.
At any given time,
Yeah.
And it just was we all have these things, that kind of make us this way. And I really liked this branding. And I was like, oh, this is up my alley. And at the time, there was this girl working with me who is an incredible designer. And she, named Chum. And she has now worked for Anthropology. She's just moved on, but for years and years and years.
Oh,
and
sure,
years.
sure.
Well, I really liked her, and we were friends there. And there was only 3 of us or something that worked at OPB. And she was sort of a little bit of introverted. And I knew nothing about Wieden+Kennedy. I'm not one of those people who are oh my God, I know. It's like, I want to be there. It's like everything. I just didn't know. I didn't know they existed.
But
honestly.
it makes total sense too, because I mean, you are not coming from that background, and
No.
like there was not really a relationship between PSU and Wieden at the
Nope.
time of any sort. So
I didn't know anything about advertising.
Yeah.
Like, I thought commercials were fun. I used to memorize commercials when I was little, you know? So maybe I was meant for it, but like, I used to memorize these, like, really, my parents at the dinner table were like, what are you quoting? God, I used to memorize this. There was this weird commercial back in the day that was for like a recovery center in Seattle. It was called Schick Shadle. And they would always say, it's 10 days and a couple of 2-day follow-ups was their like tagline for this recovery center. I was way too young to know what this was. And
what?
I would sit at the dinner table and go, Schick Shadle, 10 days and a couple of 2-day follow-ups. And my parents were like, what? You know, like
It's so many different things clanging on the ears in that. I can see why that was so sticky.
Yeah.
I mean, I cannot shake, and I think probably this is one that most people who are my age or older will remember, the Head On commercial.
Yeah.
Head On applied directly to the forehead, and it was just repeated over and over. And I seem to remember the first time I saw it being like, oh no, this is the future of advertising.
Yeah, like this is your brain on crack. You know, the egg all those commercials back then were so great.
Yes.
Anyway, I digress. Chum was she really wanted to work at Wieden+Kennedy, like really badly. She was super enamored with it, and she was like, how we get in there? And I was like, let's just do mock interviews, you know, like
Sure.
And we kind of did it, and you know, she got in, and she was telling me a lot that people were coming up to her and being like, oh, Wieden+Kennedy, almost like she felt like people were being fake with her because of trying to get into Wieden+Kennedy, right?
Oh, sure, yeah.
And I liked her so much, and I wanted her to be my friend for so long that I was super worried that she would think that. So I just actually never brought up Wieden+Kennedy again. Which in hindsight was like a big part of her life, and it's really stupid that I just didn't do that, you know? But like, I worked at OB for like 2 years, and I think at that point she called me one time and was like, hey, you've been there a long time. You should come over and work at Wieden+Kennedy. I was like, no, I don't know advertising. I don't know what that means. I'm not really as enamored with it. And
but she's there, and she's trying to recruit.
Yes.
You still have that block on.
I just didn't. I was just being silly. And she was like, you'll make this amount of money. And it really wasn't that much, but it was way more than I was making at a public broadcasting company.
Oh, I bet.
And so I was like, oh, okay, you know. So she's like, put your portfolio together. So I did. And I think I came really soon, if not the day after Founders Day, which if people don't know, that's like the biggest party Wieden+Kennedy celebrates to have their, you know, when we were founded.
Yeah, and to call it, especially back in the day, raucous would be a massive understatement.
Yes, a lot of debauchery that goes on, you know. And it's on April Fool's, which is always really funny. And I think I came the next day. I think the person who interviewed me was hungover and like didn't want to talk loud. Like I talk about these
Truly welcome to advertising.
poor students today that have to go through like 6 interviews with like 22 different people in those 6 interviews, and like, you know, they're just like hammered. And I open my portfolio and I'm like, here is this bowling pin that I did, or whatever it was back in the day. And she's like, I don't care, you're hired. I don't want you to talk loud anymore. And like, I don't even know if I would have been hired there today, you know, with that, what I'd come up with. But yeah, no, I got hired there. And
wow,
I never meant to stay there this long, you know? But, you know, it's been a pretty great journey. It's an odd journey. And
yeah,
I did all these different things, and I try to encourage a lot of people that come talk to me, like have informational interviews or anything like that with me, that like, you don't have to know, you know?
Yeah.
Like I just talked to a student the other day about, she thought she made a big mistake because she wanted to come in advertising. She was, you know, geared into Wieden, and she had started her college career with 3 years in journalism, and then she was writing. And she was like, I made this huge mistake by wasting these journalism years. And I was like, what?
Oh, no.
You have a superpower that nobody knows. Like, we don't want everybody that can just write an ad.
Yeah.
You know, like AI can do that now. Like, unfortunately, you know, like we need the people that weren't the right fit to bring something that's different about yourself to the table.
That is the thing that it's so hard to tell to a student that like, the things that make them uncomfortable about their background and their journey are the things that are their superpower, as you said. Like it's
sorry, I hate that word, but like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It is like, but even in this conversation, like we've been talking, like all that stuff that you did in Montana, like that led you to here eventually.
Yeah.
And it all became, I'm sure, stuff that you were still thinking through, like how to the set design stuff, how to build a scene, how to art direct an environment, which I mean, you definitely do, but like also like thinking through what is the psychology, what is the human relationships that go into like the things that we're making.
Yeah.
It's all valuable, and it's all a perspective that probably nobody else on your team even would have.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just bringing that like individuality and that curiosity, I think that a good thing is my curiosity.
Yeah.
And I've always been like, well, what's that? How do you make that? And it's never in line with the thing that I'm doing. It's just like, it's probably has something to do with ADHD, but like, I'm like, well, what's that thing, that shiny new thing? But, the reason...
tinfoil? Oh, I probably shouldn't touch that.
Totally,
oh, no.
But one of the reasons I've stayed at Wieden so long through a lot of different crazy transitions and whatnot is I always asked for something new, or whenever I was bored, I was like, what if I did this?
Yeah.
And I just knew all they could say was no. And then I was in the same place that I was before,
Hey.
And so like there was points where, we got like KFC
Yeah.
as a client. And, we were doing the design for it and all the new branding, the packaging, and that was really cool and stuff like that. But after a while, we were also doing like the food styling. And I realized that there was no one at Wieden who knew how to food style, because it was kind of our first food client, really.
Yeah.
We were bringing these food stylists, and I was kind of like, I can do that. Maybe. And so I expressed interest. Wieden ended up sending me to Seattle to like a short food styling school. They paid for it.
There's a food styling school in Seattle?
I think there's lots of food styling schools. And you learn all the like, you think it's like the things where people talk about where you're like, oh, do you use motor oil to make it look, shinier and all these weird things they do in food.
Yeah.
But you actually, that was like in the 60s and 70s, I think.
Yeah, isn't like most of that illegal now too?
Now it's like you have to use the actual food, or it's false advertising.
Yeah.
Right? So I did learn all the things, and there's certain things you are allowed. Like I know an exact glue that you have to like, a specialty glue you have to mail away for that glues oil so I could get the fried chicken to stay together.
Oh, sure.
And I did that for a while, and I took photography classes. And I ended up where I didn't want to be a food stylist, but then when I was then on shoots with clients, I had the vernacular to know what movement in camera happened. Because when you moved food in camera, like a millimeter, it looks like it moves 6 feet in the actual photo.
Oh, sure. Yeah, just the size. Yeah.
Yeah. And I learned all of these different skills to be able to hone the skills that I wanted. And I know there's always this giant debate of whether learning a lot of hats and you're like, the master of none.
Well, I always try to remind students, though, that the end of that nobody quotes is better than a master of one.
Yes.
Which is so true.
I agree with that, and I'm really glad that people have specialties and that can be really successful for you as well.
Yeah.
But like, I think you have to keep an open curiosity for things.
100%. 100%. But like, even getting back to why you were doing this, like, if you get that feeling of like, I'm not being challenged, doing something about it is the best way to reinvigorate your creativity. Just like, hey, I mean, Wieden has the benefit of being able to be a lot of different things, but like that can be a sign that, hey, it's time to move on. It's time to try something totally different.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like, that's wild. What a wild, like, extra thing on that journey that I'm sure made that campaign even.
Yeah. Oh, I styled for like a whole bunch of the actual commercials with Daryl Hammond and stuff like that. That chicken, that's me.
Oh, damn. All right. Hey.
You're looking for some sexy chicken?
I can very easily imagine Daryl Hammond saying sexy chicken. But like, to even go back, like, very early days, like, you actually get to work with David Kennedy, like, in studio.
Oh, my heart.
Which is like such a wild thing to think. Like, here you are, still a very junior person at Wieden, working with the founder.
Yes.
Who has no real reason to be there. I mean,
he was retired at the time. He came in every single day. Dan and David were both they are hard to replicate men. They are two people that came together that happen to be incredible human beings. It's not even about leadership. They just were incredible human beings.
Yeah.
Dan was a little bit further away from us just because we call them the pen and the quill or something. It was just this opposite way. Well, Dan was the writer, right?
Yeah,
and David was the art director, in quotes, the maker, right? He was a sculptor. He was all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So he would wear the same outfit pretty much every day. It was always black.
So I think we've identified his OCD immediately.
Yeah, and he had this really big set of keys, like on a big ring, and he always wore them, and he shuffled. And he was, had this beard, and he was this older guy, and he just was super unassuming. And so everyone thought he was the janitor. Like, this is like a very well-known story. People would be like, who's that janitor guy? And we'd be like, that's David Kennedy. And I think he liked it. I think he just thought it was the funniest thing, you know? And he would come into the studio every day, which is sort of like a little sacred place in Wieden+Kennedy. Like, if you're part of a studio, it's like this different little internal family.
Yeah.
Where like the designers really take care of each other, regardless of like the chaos that's going on around us. And he was part of that. And he came in every day and would just sit at the cutting table and make stuff. And you would go up to him and he'd go, come here. It's just a joke. He'd always start out going, it's just a joke. Because he'd make these like really funny things and he'd just like give them to people, And he would just go around and like bestow knowledge on people. And he was just really wonderful. And he was always making jokes and he was funny. And he would tell these stories and he would talk about all these people and like the history of advertising and design that you should know who they were, but you had no idea, because he would be like, John, and you would have no idea that it was like, or he'd be like Milt, and it would be like Milt Glazer, and you wouldn't know, because he'd just say it first names, and you'd be like, oh, okay.
Of course, who's not on a first name basis with Milton Glazer?
And
of course.
You weren't about to be like, who is this person? Because you just wanted to be like, yeah, I understand what you're saying, so you just follow along. But he really was, he'd always come up and be like, behind her and be like, what are you doing? And then he'd drop some knowledge on you that was like, I don't know, it was like silly but real, Like he would just be like, what if that was the back of the billboard or something like that?
Yeah.
And you were like, what? He was so great.
But the more you're describing it, the more it does sound like he is truly a magical janitor character from movies.
Yeah.
Comes along and like solves the problem for you.
Yes.
Because he's thinking completely outside of it.
Yeah. And he was always making. So we wanted to be at the cutting table.
Yeah.
Creating things. I think that's gone away a little bit. And I hope that we can get that back a little bit there with like this like, I keep saying cutting table, cutting, sewing, whatever you're doing of making things.
Yeah.
Was always the thing that I was gravitated toward.
It's a special thing. And I'm guessing a lot of what he was making too was like apropos of nothing. Truly just like,
no, it was like
not the job.
Cards for people or something. Like he'd, get Gary Larson comics and cut out the words and put new words there and then like crack himself up, and leave it on somebody's desk and walk away,
Every season I discover new strange through lines, and I'm shocked that Gary Larson is going to be one of the through lines of this season.
Yeah.
That's great, though.
Like I think one time I was looking for a compass, like a, north-south compass.
Yeah.
For a shoot or something like that. And I put a note out and was asking people in the studio if anyone had one or I had to go buy one. And the next day he gave me like a protractor compass.
Great.
Like all wrapped in a gift, for me. And I was like, oh, okay, this is a different compass, but I like it also. And I was like, it's old school. I love it.
So he's going around. He's giving you compasses and Tijuana Far Side comics.
Yeah, he was always Santa every year.
Great.
To the little kids who screamed on his lap, and he loved it. He just was a really magical person. He always had dog treats in his pockets, so all the dogs would follow him and know who he was. And
maybe I need to steal that trick.
But he always wanted to hear your story,
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that really endeared him to everybody, that it was like, you could listen to him for hours. He was David Kennedy, and you kind of were like, oh my God, he's this mythical human being. But he didn't care about that. He wanted to hear your story.
Yeah.
And he wanted to get to know you. And then he would find out something little about you. And then he would leave you a book or something you didn't even think about that you told him.
Oh, wow.
And
okay.
I think that's a really magical skill.
Yeah. I mean, I guess like to think about like how do you become that sort of ad legend? It's you have to be a very personable human. You have to be able to like really connect with somebody.
Yeah.
And that's, I don't know, that's pretty special.
Yeah.
I have here that you did work with him specifically on the Velveeta campaign, which is a very funny thing to think about.
Speaking of food design, I actually put a Velveeta in a bundt cake. What's really crazy about it? Velveeta has no shelf life. I think it's like 150 years or something like that.
Oh, great.
And I had to learn how to like melt it down without it getting oily. There were so many things you had to learn about it. You think it's easy to work with, but it gets really like separated. Like it congeals very easily.
It's not a substance that feels like it wants to be one thing.
Yeah. And we got somebody's giant motorcycle, and somehow we got it in the elevator up the stairs of like the service elevator.
There's a lot of stairs, and that service elevator is not very big.
Yeah, well, we got it in there. We got it up
Oh my
to the
God.
6th floor, which is like, huge at Wieden, and we got it outside. And David played a biker, and we like styled him, slicked him back, and he was on this Harley, and he was holding in his hand this tray of Velveeta that I'd shaped into a bundt cake, and like I don't even remember what it was for. Like,
I was gonna ask.
Like it was a social post or something really stupid, but like, yes, it was like we were like, and he was loving it, he was just on there just like, I'm a badass biker,
Oh,
and like,
sure.
he was just totally loving this we just made weird things out of Velveeta all the time. And Velveeta lettuce, it was great.
Hey. I mean, I'm sure they don't know any more than anyone does what Velveeta is for or what it can do.
Yeah, I have some really good outtakes. It was really hot up there. It was summertime, so the Velveeta with bundt cake was like melting.
Really making it look all the more appealing, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
all these behind the scenes, like failures happen all the time behind the scenes.
I imagine that you've done so many different
Oh, God.
campaigns. Like I imagine there must be like hundreds and hundreds of stories.
I mean, I learned the biggest thing I learned with food styling is never to throw anything away until an hour after you finish the set.
Oh, sure.
Like even an hour, because
Yeah.
like you will throw something away thinking it's melted and disgusting by now, you
Yeah.
know? And then all of a sudden, like an hour later, after the client's flipping through the photos, they're like, what if we shot that again? And you're like, oh my God. And you're rustling through the trash, trying to pull this out and, sweating, freaking out that you threw it away. So there's a lot of, I fail all the time. All the time.
A lot of last minute scrambling, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But you've done tons of work there over the years. I think one that I really, because I was trying to remember, I won a thing when I was in undergrad around the movie Coraline, and I was looking at the influencer boxes that you worked on for that movie. I think it may have been one of those.
You got one?
Possibly, but I am not an influencer in any way. I think I just won a contest, and I don't know.
You think or you have one?
I don't have it anymore. It was one of the things I had to.
Worth a lot of money now.
I know, I'm sure. Like most choices that I've made, it was the wrong choice. I think I was just reminded when I was probably 7 or 8. I went to a writing summer camp, and when I got there, I asked people to call me Mac because I was so interested in Macs.
Okay.
Not a great choice. It was very awkward, but also at that same age, I wanted more than anything in the world to own Apple stock, which I think was like $4 at that point. To think of what a different path my life would be on if that had happened, rather than just asking people to call me Mac. Hard to think about.
Okay.
But like I may have gotten one of these, and like it's a beautiful box. Do you want to talk about like kind of what were they really like?
God, Leica was one of my favorite. I wish we still had Leica.
Yeah.
I wish we still had Leica as a client. I think that was a lot of the people that I work with, even still some now. A lot of my favorite designers around town.
Yeah.
Were there with me at that time making stuff for Leica, and we all talk about that was like our heyday.
It's quite a list of folks on those jobs.
It's just so cool.
Yeah.
We got Coraline, and I mean, first of all, that was like, a great book, that I loved in the first place.
Yeah.
And we were working on first, I don't think we made the influencer boxes first. I think we did the Nike Dunks.
Oh, sure.
We did Coraline Dunks.
Yeah.
So we used our power of working with Nike to like create these Coraline Dunks. And we decided to put them in like these specialty boxes that were these wood boxes that we had handmade and sent over to us. And we were going to put the plaques on them and all this different stuff. And they were like 1 out of 100 or whatever. And when the boxes arrived, this other incredible designer, Karen Cook, and I were in the room, and they all had those like holes in them, like the little burrowed tunnels.
Oh, sure.
And we were opening them, and all of a sudden we were like, oh no, do these boxes have termites in them? And we were like,
I was wondering why that wood was so cheap.
I know, and we were like, did we like just unleash termites into Wieden+Kennedy, which is like
a famously wood building?
And we were like freaking out about it. Turns out the boxes had been treated. But that kind of spurred this idea of us making these boxes they weren't influencers at the time. That was like before influencers. They were just bloggers.
I think that was the thing that I was like thinking through. Yeah, that was not a thing that existed.
Not a thing that existed, yeah.
Yeah.
So we found bloggers that really talked about, that were makers themselves.
Yes.
So these were like, maybe it was like a seamstress in Minnesota that like made tiny little cat sweaters and made thousands of them.
Great.
And they were all different patterns. They were amazing. Someone really in our realm of what Leica did, because Leica was makers.
Yeah.
Right. And so these were the people that we wanted to get the boxes to, like underground, to see if they would talk about these on their blogs and stuff like that, you know? And so we handmade boxes that were all wood boxes, and in them we had props. So Leica would drop off to us, or we go pick up and see all the sets. I'm sure everyone knows, because to make, you know, stop animation, you have to make hundreds of thousands of like one piece to change a facial expression.
Oh,
you know?
yeah. Anytime, listeners, if you are in the Portland airport, I think that exhibition is going to be up for a while. But they have a bunch of, I think specifically from Coraline, a bunch of the models, and just a library of facial expressions.
Yeah.
Every mouth movement, like
It's
each
awesome.
one is a little different piece.
Yeah. And like there are studios, I think you can take tours there too, maybe
Oh,
still.
yeah.
It looks like the X-Files when you go in there, because it's just warehouses of like just sheets that are drawn. It's the different sets, you know, that they have out, but it's really cool. But they would drop so at the end of all these, they can't keep all these pieces.
Yeah.
And they don't want it to flood the world. They want it to be special. So they kind of get rid of them and they trash compact them. So they were giving us these extra pieces, and we would set up these little, like all of the real pieces that came from the movie, like a hand from Coraline or her hat or something. There were these really cool, authentic pieces that back then weren't, you know, being sold on the internet for whatever. They were just cool pieces.
Yeah.
And then we would have a story for them in there, or a piece of hair of somebody. And we tried to gear it toward that person. So maybe it was all about, maybe that Minnesota sweater maker was a Coraline sweater, and it was all about the knitting process and, you know, the cat and all this different stuff. And
Wow. Yeah. That makes me all the more curious, A, who I would have gotten it from, and B, what specific thing you would have curated for them.
maybe, you know, maybe I'll look back. I'll try to find. Maybe we can find.
Yeah, some Las Vegas blogger, I'm sure. Yeah.
And like we went as far as like we would coffee stain like the notes we would send them and all that kind of stuff. Like we spent a lot of time on these things. But like we loved it. All of us were in there, and you could see we have pictures of all of us just like over the boxes and with tweezers, hand putting things in, you know, and
Like
everything
you're doing the thing, the same
there was
thing as
love
Leica.
behind
Yeah.
it. Yeah, exactly, you know. And we sent those out, and it was just such a cool campaign because it didn't feel gross.
No.
You know.
Well, I feel like that was also such a thing of like there had not been a children's movie really marketed in that way before.
Yeah.
Where it was like, we are trying to make this a little dark and a little spooky and a little like.
I mean, it's a dark book.
Yeah,
It's a dark,
100.
it's a scary little, and then we made the button eyes and we sent them out to everybody and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
I still have one of Coraline's hats in my house and something else, and you know, all that kind of stuff.
Amazing.
We did weird stuff. You know, I mean, probably EA Games when I did the Dante's Inferno. That was probably.
Yeah, do you want to talk about that stuff?
Oh my God. We made like the 7 levels of hell. So we were like making flesh and stuff.
Great.
I don't know what kind of stories I can tell here, but like.
Go wild.
I had to get liquid latex. So, you know, across the street from Wieden is Spartacus.
Oh, yes, yes.
A pretty famous, you know, sex shop in Portland.
Adult proclivities, perhaps.
Yes. And I needed a vat of liquid latex. And
show me to your vat aisle, please.
So first of all, I show up at like 10:30 a.m. You know,
a great time to be
like,
going to an
I think they
institution
opened
like
at
that.
10:30, and I was there at 10:15 because we were like on deadline, and I was freaking
Yeah.
out, and I had a cup of coffee. And this guy's like shows up, and he's half like, "Why are you standing here early, you little weirdo, in front of the shop?" And I'm just like, "I'm really interested in your shop." And I said, he was kind of unlocking it, looking at me really weird, and he's like, "Give me a second." And I'm like, "Yeah, no worries." And I'm like, "Do you carry latex?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, and I go, "But like, I need like a vat of it." And he's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, and then I get really uncomfortable, and I'm like, no, it's for work. And then I'm like, well, that doesn't sound good either.
No,
you know,
no.
and I'm like,
if anything, you've opened a lot more questions.
right. And he's like, I don't care. And I'm like, okay, perfect.
It's better if I don't know. You don't understand.
Yeah. So I expense this, of course, this vat of like this.
Great.
And like, I think at one point our accounting came down, and they were like, you are the weirdest expensing of materials that I've ever. He's like, we just got a Spartacus, and I'm like, I know, I'm sorry.
These are people who do the accounting for Founders Day.
I know,
too.
I know. You're right. You're right.
What are they saying?
But we used to sit there while we were typing with our other hand covered in liquid latex while it was drying, so we could get the fingerprints and make it look really grody for Dante's Inferno. I was making like pieces of flesh, and my parents were like, "What is your job again?" And I was like, well, just doing the seven levels of hell, with these weird books that we're making around Dante's Inferno, and we're like Christmas ornaments that were grotesque and like.
Sure.
But it was so fun.
Yeah. Oh, I bet. Do you ever think about like, the you that went to Montana to do kind of anthropology type stuff, what that you would think about that project in particular?
I was in forensic anthropology too, so I did have a cadavers class.
Yeah.
Again, this all
You've got hands-on,
this all somehow relates to all of these things.
Yes, it does. Well, I think that also is a very nice segue into the 72-hour horror film festival.
I was just gonna say it went into my horror film festival work. Yeah, I always loved horror films. I always loved, from. Even books that were like when I was a kid.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I've just always loved the illustrations, like the weird stuff about that. Like I was saying earlier that I wrote down like Jack Davis, who did like Tales of the Crypt.
Oh, 100%.
And like, Doctor Strange, like all that kind of stuff as a kid. Those illustrations were really interesting to me. And like the graphic novels of that stuff, which is.
I'm like, the one, and this may be a little after, but Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
Just oh my God.
But what an amazing like illustration style that no one's replicated like ever I've seen.
Which is shocking because it made such an impression on anyone who saw it.
Terrifying. Yeah. And I think I was so terrified of horror movies that I wanted to know how it worked.
Yes.
So it would make it less terrifying to me.
It makes total sense.
Yeah. With all this prop making we were doing,
yeah,
I started to be like, oh, I could do this. This would be really fun. Someone at Wieden invited me into one of the 72-hour horror film festival things. I had no idea what it was. It's like you show up at a bar at like 10:30 at night, and you pick out of the hat a genre of horror. Oh. And you have your team already established. And we had Shane Edwards, an incredible writer, like. Good God, that man is an incredible writer.
You'd have to be able to come up with a narrative in that amount of time. My God.
Writer at Wieden is amazing. And he invited me, and I felt really like accomplished because he had invited me. And I was going to like, okay, I can do all these horror tricks. And he would be like, well, what can you do? What kind of a horror thing, like an arm cut off or like a throat slit or something weird, And then he'd write around that, And so
you're building around the set pieces.
Yeah,
of course.
basically. And then you would come the next morning and you would basically stay up for 24 hours straight. And you would have to find a place that would allow you to get bloody. And so normally most of them are outside because nobody wants a bunch of blood everywhere, or something. And I don't know, we had just had such a good time. And it was easier for me because Weiden's like really like you would also stay up sometimes 24 hours.
Yeah. It's very similar.
Or art school, you would stay up 24 hours. So you kind of knew that you just had to push. But you were like doing just weird things with people, and I would have like, there was no budget, so I would have to learn to be really scrappy.
Oh, sure. Sure.
Like I'd go to the store at Home Depot and I'd get like, that thing that you pump that like, you spray, and you could spray like bug spray stuff around the corner of the house or something. The
weird little yellow jug thing.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, that's like $7.
Yeah.
And that's what I would get and attach a tube to and put on people. And when it ruptured, like I could use the arterial spray, for that kind of a thing and stuff like that. And I just learned, I don't know, just weird things you could put things in to make things explode or do something weird. And it was always a trial and error. And sometimes I would astronomically fail at it because you'd only have one take.
Oh, yeah.
And
hard
everyone
to reset
would be
when the lead actor is covered in blood.
Yeah, and I was so serious about it at the time.
Yeah.
I was like, I felt so much pressure, like I have to get this bullet hole right or something. And then I would go to the film festival itself and I'd watch everybody else's. And the ones that would win were just like massive buckets of blood. Just people would just throw buckets and everyone would be like, yeah. Like I learned that it was like not as precious.
They also visited the vat section of Spartacus, but picked up a different vat.
Yes. Well, I got a lot of the blood because it's expensive to make from, you remember Grimm was here?
That show Grimm? Yes. I believe it was an NBC show, I want to say.
Yeah, like vampires, werewolves maybe?
Yeah.
But they stopped doing it here, so they had a huge warehouse sale. and they sold all of their props.
I remember when that warehouse sale
And
happened.
I went there and I got like a whole bunch of blood that's like still in my basement.
I'm sure it's still good. Yeah.
Probably.
Probably no Velveeta style separation.
I
or
think that
anything
if
like
someone
that.
went in my basement right now, they would be like, "Oh God, we should get out of here immediately."
We've solved 400 murders today.
Yeah, exactly.
There we go.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's wild. So I believe one of them, your 2015 film Vinyl, won first place for Best Screenplay, Best Original Score, Best Director of Photography, and Best Overall Film.
Yes.
Pretty wild. And then you also did...
I mean, have you ever been to one of those?
I have not.
They're great because they're super low budget. I mean, some of them you're like, "Oh wow," but other people take it. They do take it so seriously. They're kind of fun to go to.
I will say I'm more in the mindset that maybe you were in at the beginning. It sounds like where
Yes.
I am scared, but it's like maybe it is like seeing how the sausage is made does help with
I
like.
really think it's just like commercials, ads. I can't watch them in a normal way anymore.
Hey.
Like I literally go when I'm watching it, I'm like, when they're in the boardroom, why did they make that choice for that tagline? And then I'm like, why did they shoot it like that? If they just like, oh, they must have had that actress do that. Or like when people are eating a bunch of food, I'm like, oh, there's probably a spit bucket nearby because they take so many takes that they don't swallow the food that they're eating.
Of course,
My brain does different things. And I think when I'm in a horror movie, I do that as well a little bit where I'm like, oh, like I went to see The Exorcist because it was its 50th anniversary recently.
Wow.
But they like did all of that practically.
Yeah.
There was no computer stuff around that. And my dad and I were after, I'm like, my dad's like, oh, that was so scary. And I'm like, but when her head was spinning, like.
Well, but it's like, I mean, this will be old news, I'm sure, by the time. But like very recently, they did the remastering of Mad Men. And I think in one of the scenes, one of the characters, I have not watched the show. I'm sorry. I don't know any of the characters.
Wait,
but
you match Mad Men?
I
pretty
struggle with
good.
it. I know this is very unpopular. I think I find Don Draper to be too much of a bummer.
Yeah, but I think.
I understand that's
I
kind
think
of
he was
the
supposed to be.
intention.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like hard to watch levels of bummer.
Yes.
But in one of the scenes, I don't think it's him. I think it's one of the other characters. Just projectile vomits. And you can actually see because I guess this had been a visual effect that they'd done, just like on the final release, but hadn't redone it for the digital upscale. So you can see the guys like pumping the vomit, machine just off screen behind them.
Yeah.
And it's like, of course. I mean, yeah, that's how you would get that effect. But it's like, it's so funny to think like, yeah, that's still how all of this is done. It's still, that show's not that old. It's really fascinating.
I love that this episode is about mistakes and failure. We're talking about vomit and bread.
I'm not sure it's any different to the listeners. They know. You stayed at Wieden a long time. You stayed, a little over 10 years. And then you left in 2019.
Yeah, I think I had a crisis of conscience. I did. At the time, I like I said, Wieden was able to do a lot of things with me. Every time I was like unhappy, they would be like, oh, what do you want to do? And I would go do something different, which is like really cool. And then I started to be like, should I have stayed here for 10 years? It's not like, it was at the time, that cusp of like, nobody was staying to get a 20-year-old gold watch anymore. People were moving around like every 2 years and that was okay.
Well, and I think in that 2016 to 2020 period, I feel like a lot of people kind of started to realize, oh, hey, maybe the things that I'm doing in my life are not suiting me anymore.
Yeah.
And, maybe we're having another one of those moments. And who knows why? But like, you're feeling that itch. You're feeling like, hey, maybe what else is out there?
Yeah, to learn something different.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
I don't really care. I mean, that would be totally lying to me to say I don't really care what title or money pay because, we all want to be paid and stuff. But like, it's not my first thing, know, like I have always been like, I'll be okay if I'm learning something. But as soon as I'm stagnant, I can't sit still. I can't, like, if I'm not learning something, I'm out. Yeah. And it just was what I was feeling at the time. And, I ended up where I didn't know. I didn't even think I was going to go back to Wieden. That was not a thing. I didn't have that like lock set where they were like a fallback. Like they threw me a party. I pieced out, like they had cocktails named after my dog, at the party. Like I was like,
oh, this is an elaborate party.
I mean, David Kennedy was hugging me, and he was like, get out of here, and like, You know, it was like I was leaving that place and I never meant to go back there. And so I started kind of like applying for other jobs, maybe at like Google. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just was like something else, you know, little agencies. And if I'm gonna be really like candid, I needed health insurance.
It's important.
Yeah. Like I've had some health issues and I needed health insurance. And at the time, Wieden was creating design directors for the first time. And Eric Baldwin, who worked there as the ECD, who is also an incredible human being, he sort of was like, hey, we're creating these positions. We'd love to have you back, you know. And I wanted that stability to come back. And I was like, okay, we talked for a while and he was like, here are the other people that are going to do it. And we're going to have this like structure where there's like not one head of design person in charge, but it's sort of more of like there's 6 of you or so that are going to band together and do this together. And I really liked that idea because all the 6 people or 7 people that he chose were really different and brought a totally different skill set to the table.
So it's like assembling a team of leadership with the same sorts of like diversity of perspectives that an actual team would have.
Yes. And like it was meant for, we were losing people in the cracks of Wieden, of young designers that were feeling like they were like thrown out to sink or swim. And there was nobody there to onboard them or mentor them even because we were busy, right?
Yeah, they're just sitting in a dark corner.
Yeah, shaking like a little fawn. And we're like, I'm so sorry. So we
got to turn down the air conditioning on this floor. It's way too cold.
And all of us were people that wanted to mentor.
Yeah.
And so we really were like, okay, let's split everybody. Let's take mentees. Let's make this a program here. Let's like try to do this in the right way. And every single one of those people were super caring. And we had worked together enough that we respected the hell out of each other. Yeah. And we might disagree on some things, but at the end of the day, there was not a single moment where any of us were like, get out of here. We hate your opinion on something ever. We always came to a nice conclusion and really, really tried to help people in that moment, something like that. So I came back and then 2 weeks later, COVID hit. And like I literally like
take that good feelings.
I know. I literally like I came in and everyone was like, we got called around a table and they were like, everyone has to work from home. There's this thing spreading this virus, you know. We were like, what? And then they were like, it'll be for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You know, which
I also like getting called around a table.
Yeah.
Hey, let's get all close in here.
Yeah.
Get the entire organization into
we didn't know anything about
bunker.
it, you know. And I'm kind of grateful for that. I don't know if I would have done as well Zooming with brand new people in a brand new job. Because at least like if I started Zooming, I knew how tall you were.
What can I but the thing about this job is like, you know, you're meeting new people all the time. There are so many people who I to this day still don't know how tall they are.
I know. So it's true.
No in real life experiences.
It's true.
Them.
But at least I knew enough people and had established some trust with people that it didn't seem as hard when that was a hard time period.
Yeah.
For a lot of people. So and then I ended up I just kept being there. That's where I am.
But that is an important journey to be like, oh, hey, you know, I've come back to the place that, you know, sort of grew me into the person that I am.
Yeah.
And now you are doing the same to a bunch of younger creatives, including some very recent students of mine. One of my students who now works at Wieden, Macy Eastland, came in to give a talk.
Macy is like my shining little star.
Macy's a rock star.
Macy and I work extremely close together. We are the only 2 people on Yeti right now.
Hey, that's a good person to have on Yeti.
She daily blows my mind.
Yeah.
And we've had this conversation before where she's a Nepo baby. And I was
to
like,
the degree to which that's possible.
Yeah, because her mom, I think,
like
might have been my boss at some point. But like, she came in, and I think that my thought process was like, "Do you have what it takes? Because you know, are you actually here with the chops?" You know?
Yeah.
And we've talked about this, so I don't think this is. And hopefully this isn't.
No, she said exactly the same thing when she was here.
No, she blew me away.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Like
she's really good.
She's so good. It's crazy. And it's because also she's the type of person we fit well together because I think there's a scale with design at Wieden where like there's the people that do the visual identities really well and the grids really well over here and are like don't go outside of the grid. And then it goes all the way in the spectrum to the people that are more geared toward the art direction side of things. So they're conceptual thinkers.
100%.
And I'm probably more in that conceptual line. And I think she is as well. She can do, either of us can do both.
But it's like, I also see such parallels between the kinds of ways that you think too. Like, I mean, one of her big projects here was she did our lecture series posters for many years. And many of them were papercraft things where she's like thinking not just in terms of what the digital asset is, but how you build that in order to get that effect in the final thing.
We joked that she can never quit because she's the only one who knows how to use the vinyl cutter.
That's why my job is protected here too, unfortunately.
She's the one who, there's a lot of people there that will really now, there's that curiosity too, where they'll just go for it. Like they'll just be the people that they're at night because they want to experiment with some cutout things they're doing or something like that. And that just goes so far.
Yeah. I mean, that's the David Kennedy energy. Still
100%.
Just sit around, make weird things with your giant key ring.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Katie.
Yeah.
This has been such a treat. If people want to find more about you, where do they go to do it?
Well, I mean, my website is McWhatever.com.
An amazing website.
Thank you. I probably haven't updated it in like 5 years. I should get around to that.
If there are designers out there who've updated their website more frequently, I would love to meet them. I feel like that is the case.
I'm busy.
Yeah. I'm still on my placeholder website from, I believe, 2018 when I applied for this job.
Yeah.
So hoping to update that someday.
But, I still have the teacher in me, so I really love, when people do reach out to me, send me an email and, like, let's go have a coffee or something, Like, that teacher in me is still really into that and, like, just chatting with people and all that kind of good stuff.
It's a special thing. And I think, like, for anyone out there who might be on the younger side, like, entering this profession and feel a little nervous, like, it is something that is always, like, very flattering and very, like, that you are so generous with your time, too, to do it. Like,
and I'll tell you about all my mistakes. I've made so many dumb mistakes that I'll continue to make. But I think that's part of like being a good leader is showing your vulnerability,
100%. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
And also, hey, one more thank you out there to all of you for listening. If this is your first time here, please be sure to subscribe wherever it is that you found the show. But hey, if you, maybe don't want to go through one of our algorithmic overlords, you can find this show on the net as well at dididothat.design. You can pull up any and every episode there, just like WTF, except my website is worse than that one because I don't have money. But also, hey, if you are on those apps and you want to, help us get more audience, leave a comment or a review because those really help a lot, as does spreading the word more organically because, hey, face-to-face, just chatting, I feel like that's a better way to find out what's cool and what's not. This has been Did I Do That? I'm Sean Schumacher, and as we always say at the close of every episode...
What do we say?
That's what we always say. Okay, bye! Oh, wait, hold on. Cancel. So I will say, Katie, when we sat down to record, Katie brought... Get some good crinkles in here. ASMR podcast now. Thank you for staying after I pretended to end the show. Katie brought in this very lovely package wrapped in wax paper. So it might be a sandwich in here, possibly.
Yeah.
You don't even know my love for giant dot stickers, but this has a giant dot sticker.
Perfect.
Maybe the biggest giant dot sticker I've actually ever seen. So I'm going to open this up now. Here we go. Wow, this is really well wrapped. It's a book. Oh my God. Audle's answers on blueprint reading. Oh my God. Did you know that I am this kind of nerd? I didn't know that you knew that. This is beautiful.
I thought so. I really love finding really old books that have like schematics in them.
Oh my God.
And I don't know, this one about blueprinting and about diagrams and all this different stuff, it just caught my eye. It was really cool.
Well, this, I'm sure there's no way you would have known. But like back in grad school, I did a lot of work around buildings specifically and the built environment. And like that opened up a lot of these things, but also like I got very into surveying. And there's like,
that's
friends,
awesome.
if you want to have a good time, go look up the manual of geodetic surveying, I think it's called, from like the 40s or the 50s. And it's full of these. my God, look at that technical
Yeah, right?
illustration. That's beautiful.
There's an entire section on just rulers, and they've drawn rulers. And it's so,
in case you don't know what a ruler looks
it's so
like.
mundane, but it's like such a cool, like,
Oh
I
my
don't
God.
know.
Look at the hieroglyphics on this graphical symbols for use on drawings about arc and gas welding.
Yeah, totally.
That's
And there's
gorgeous.
electrical outlets. There's a ton of weird stuff in there. I really
Yeah.
like it.
I gotta see. This is really like well bound too.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is in great condition. Where did you find this?
Oh, I thrift a lot, and I really look for like special books.
Yeah, copyright 1946.
Hmm.
Theo Audell and Company of New York. All rights reserved. So they've inserted the copyright notice. So unfortunately, this is not in the public domain yet. But
Well, hopefully you'll find some joy in there.
this already brings me a lot. Just the type lockup on this cover that is almost illegible, but it's so
Yeah.
gorgeous.
Like debossed with
debossed
a
into
little
leather.
little ink hit in there.
Just a little tiny. Yeah, I wonder if that wore off a little bit more, and maybe this would
Yeah,
have been more
maybe.
reflective back in the day. But that is, gold leaf on the spine. This is gorgeous. Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome. I'm sure.
Yeah. Okay, now the show's actually over. Bye.
Bye.